I, 24 female, and my husband, 30, have been going back and forth on this concept for years now, but I truly believe I have reached my breaking point and need to know if I would be the jerk if I went no contact with my mother, 49. My mother has made my life a living hell for years, insane rules, double standards when it comes to my little brother, and using me as her emotional whipping post. Some of her rules include but weren't limited to: no non-traditional piercings, or they would be forcibly removed; no tattoos while she is still living, or they would be burned or cut from my flesh, my choice which; no dyeing my hair till I was 18, even fake washout spray and dye, and after no natural colors; or she would hold me down and shave my head bald. If I wore something she didn't approve of, I wouldn't be allowed to open the blinds or leave the house. If it was important for her that I go, she threatened to cut my clothing off me and make me go naked. If I got pregnant before the age of 20, I would not have a choice about keeping it because I wasn't allowed to throw my life away. I was expected to parent my brother, as she worked 2 jobs most of the time, and my stepfather was too drunk or didn't care enough to parent his son but was punished severely when I acted like a parent. Repeated threats to burn every book I owned page by page while she made me watch because I was being antisocial with how much time I spent reading. I met my husband 5 years ago, and right away he started helping me gain my independence, which he hated. One night when my father was being particularly rude to both of us, husband told him to stop cursing at me, and my mother banished him from the house for a year, refusing to speak to him, and only sat down to reason with him when her repeated demands to leave him drove me to spend more time out of her home. Since I moved out of her house and in with husband, she has been systematically not including me in family events and making up excuses under the guise of, "Well, I didn't know if you would even want to come," or, "Well, if you spent more time with your family, you would be invited to more things." One thing for the past 4 years that she has been doing is purposely not inviting me to my younger brother's 17th birthday. My brother has no say in what he does for his birthday and has a hard time speaking to anyone he sees as an authority figure. This is partially because of his upbringing and also because my mother has refused his autism diagnosis for 15 years and refused to even tell him about it. For the last 4 birthdays, it has been a mixture of asking me to watch their blind dog while they take him out of town to do something. Note I have 1 stepsister and 3 stepbrothers who could also watch said dog. But this year neither husband nor I were even invited. 2 weeks before his birthday, I went out with my mother for tea and to talk about the upcoming holidays. When I asked her about his birthday, knowing she was planning something, she told me, "I am taking him and 2 of his friends axe throwing and then maybe for pizza. I already have everything booked for the party. I assumed you wouldn't want to go." Which did sting a little, but I have a medical condition which limits my ability to do things like axe throwing. So I asked my brother if he wanted to have something small at my apartment the days after, just the 3 of us, and promised to make it special. Tonight he excitedly messaged me and sent me photos showing our sister was there with him as well. I found out our other siblings were invited. The dagger to my heart though was when he told me in a direct quote, "I would have really liked it if you and husband had come tonight. My brother wanted me there, and because my mother can't accept that I don't want to live my life bending to her will, she purposely excluded me from his birthday." The icing on top of everything that has happened is that she has said no less than 24 times to me in the last month that I don't visit enough, call her enough, or spend as much time with your family as you think you do. Every time I see her, it is nothing but backhanded remarks and demanding to know why I haven't left my husband yet. The thought of calling or seeing her sends me into a panic attack, and more than once I have spent the evening sobbing to my husband because I was convinced my mother doesn't actually love me. She keeps me around as an outlet, and because she knows she would be judged if she didn't. My wardrobe, weight, husband, medical decisions, employment, appearance, and anything else she can think of at the moment is always under scrutiny, and I have spent the last almost 15 years being told that I am a freak and no one would want to associate with me once they know who I am. I just need to know if I would be a jerk if I cut contact with her. My brother is finally old enough to reach out to me himself, and I know if I put in the effort I could keep my relationship with him. I have been making myself sick debating doing this. Update. My mother and I butted heads a lot when I was living with her, and continued to do so well after I moved out. In fact, it seemed to get worse once I moved out as she realized I was no longer under her thumb. Some of the near-daily threats/comments I would get were including but not limited to answering the phone by saying, "Well, I'm not dead yet, not that you would know because you never bothered to call me," or other threats of self-deletion even if it had been less than 24 hours since we had last spoken. Threatened to tie me to a chair and make me watch as she burned every book I owned page by page when she knew books were my safe space and only outlet. Threats of making me go to outings/family events naked if she didn't approve of a part of my outfit, and I refused to change it. Was told weekly if I dyed my hair an unnatural color my head would be shaved, eyebrows included. If a non-traditional earlobe pricing was in my body she would find it and rip it out. If I got a tattoo of any kind she would let me pick if she burned it off or cut it out of my skin. Mind you, all of this and more was said with such seriousness that I still haven't even chalk-dyed my hair in fear that she would find out and shave my head. One last point to note is that due to a series of events when my dear husband and I first started dating, she refused to allow him into her home or speak to him for 2 years and only let up after our 3rd anniversary when it became clear he was sticking around. On to the story. Due to a series of events leading up to early November 2022, I decided in late NOV early dec to go no contact with her. I sent her a long email saying this was for my mental health so we might have the possibility of a relationship in the future. I told her when she was ready to discuss things like adults I would be more than happy to sit down with her and talk it out. She flipped out and did several manipulative and passive-aggressive things to try and force me to contact her, including sending me a passive-aggressive email on my birthday and showing up to my dad's work to cry and claim she has no idea as to why I won't talk to her. Side note, my parents have been divorced since I was 2 and she has spent the last 24 years kicking him under the bus as hard as she can, every chance she can get. In August of 2023, my mother's husband's, I refused to call this man my stepfather. Younger brother was admitted to the ICU and wasn't expected to make it. My younger brother, we share the same mom but different dads, was extremely close with his uncle and beside himself, so I dropped everything and ran to the hospital to help where I could. I ended up talking with my mother a few times as I felt obligated to comfort her as well, and I felt saddened as this family member had been one of the only ones from that part of the family who didn't ignore my existence and actually got to know me. Over the next 48 hours, he unfortunately passed, and I ended up spending a few days going over to my mother's to support the family and to the funeral. During this time my mother asked if we could talk and try to work things out. We ended up meeting up at a local Timmy's for coffee, and a lot of things were said from my end about how I had felt over the years. From her end, it was a lot of, "Well, I don't remember it that way," or, "Well, I'm sorry you got upset by that." I knew that was the closest I was going to get to an apology from her, so I took it, wanting to give her one more chance. I agreed to meet up for tea once a month and only to approach surface-level things until we were both ready for deeper conversations. For the first month, this went well, and then things started popping up that she wanted me to attend, and before I knew it I was seeing her several times a week. All of this came to a head this month. I was over AA friends on a Sunday playing D&D when I got a text from my husband asking if I could come right home after the game, as he needed me. I rushed home right after to find out that my husband's best friend has terminal cancer. This friend is like a brother to my husband and is closer to him than his own sibling is. His friend, we'll call him M, was the one to ensure my husband didn't starve in the years following up to when we met, and even helped him get back to our province where he met me. I consider M one of the reasons why my husband and I ended up together. Needless to say, I texted my mother that night as I was supposed to get tea with her the next day, and my husband needed me more. I made it clear that a close family member was very sick and we were trying to process it. I was not flaking on her. I got back a single letter text K. A week later I received a phone call from her, and the following conversation ensued. M equals mother, OP equals me, S equals mother's husband. M, S and I are pulling our wills together. What do you want? OP, what? M, what do you want left to you in my will? OP, oh, well, I want Nana's china cabinet. M, well, that goes without saying, she left it to you 10 years ago when she died. OP, it does? Because I have been asking you for it for the last 10 years and you said I could only get it when you decide I am mature enough to have it. M, oh, well, what else? OP, IDK? Proceeds to list off 2 other small items. A necklace I gave her when I was a kid and a set of wine glasses she got as a wedding gift when she married my father, which she then proceeded to tell me at least one of them was smashed. Oh, and Nana. M, what? OP, I would like the small amount of Nana's ashes you have in your china cabinet. M, oh well, you will have to work that out with younger brother. Long pause. So how is husband doing? OP, not good, he is beside himself. We don't have a lot of information yet, but it's bad, terminal. Right now we are just waiting to see how long he has left. M, disinterested. MMMHMMM. Well, if you think of anything else for the will, let me know within the week. After that I quickly said goodbye and hung up. She didn't even realize for the next 9 days that I had stopped reaching out entirely, at which point she started calling and texting me several times a day, all going unanswered and unread. Every time I see her pop up on my phone, my stomach twists in anger and sadness, realizing she couldn't be bothered to fake sympathy when she knew a member of my family was dying. After 19 years of demanding I treat her husband like family from the moment he came into my life, she couldn't even phone it in for my sake, and my husband and I have been together for 6.5 years now. So would I be a jerk for ghosting her and just pretending I don't have a mother? I feel like I shouldn't give her any other chances, but the guilt is making me question my decision.